Giving you that background on Pascal, decision theory, religion, and infinity, in order to introduce his argument regarding rationality and belief in God. The attempt to offer logical proofs for the existence of God has a long and interesting philosophical history. Pascal's argument is interesting because it isn't really an argument that God exists. It's a decision-theoretic argument. Whether God does or does not exist, Pascal argues, it's rational to believe in him. The argument's known as Pascal's wager. Pascal's argument can be framed as a matrix, exactly like the ones we used before. Across the top, we have two possibilities, that God exists and that he doesn't. Down the side, we have two other possibilities, that you believe or that you don't. That gives us 4 spaces to fill in. What's going to happen in each of those combinations? Suppose that you don't believe that God exists, and you're right. He doesn't. That's the lower right box. Aren't you smart? I guess we'll have to put you down for lots of smart points. We'll put a value of 100 in that box. Suppose that you believe that God exists, and you're wrong. That's the upper right box. All that work for nothing. So we should probably put a 0 in that box. Maybe we'll even mark it down a little for disappointment. We'll put in a value of -10. Now suppose that God exists and you believe in him. That's the upper left. What do you stand to gain? Infinite bliss. We'll put down the lazy 8 for an infinite gain. Suppose that God exists and you don't believe in him. That's the lower left. If what they say about hell is true, the payoff here is eternal torment. We'll put down a negative lazy 8. You remember how we calculated the wine case? We took the options under your control, choosing red or white, and added up the values across the rows in order to calculate expected utility. Pascal has us do the same thing here for the options of belief or disbelief. Take the don't believe row on the bottom. What do you stand to gain and lose? You might gain 100 smart points, but you might lose an infinite amount. What's the expected utility of that option? A negative infinity plus 100 smart points is still a negative infinity. That's the expected value of disbelief. What's the expected value across the top row, the belief option? You've got those -10 points, but you add those to a positive infinity. Infinity minus any finite amount is still infinity. Positive infinity. That's the expected utility of belief. What happened to the probability part? Weren't we supposed to multiply the expected value by the probability of the event? Interestingly, because we've got infinity in the matrix, it doesn't matter what the probabilities are that God exists or that he doesn't. However small a probability you assign to his existence, that probability times infinity will still give you an expected utility of infinity. If you're rational, Pascal thinks, you will maximize expected utility. In this case, you have an infinite everything to gain in the case of belief, and an infinite everything to lose in the case of disbelief. The rational option is belief. It's an interesting